Welcome back to Jonah Toon's studio. Today's confession story is darker than anything I've shared before. It's the chilling tale of how someone faked their own death to escape their past, and the haunting consequences of that decision. Is it fact or fiction? I'll let you decide. Let's dive in. The waves crashed violently against the jagged rocks below, and the wind howled like a warning. I stood on the edge of the cliff, my breath visible in the cold, salty air. My heart pounded so loudly I could hear it in my ears. This was the moment I'd been planning for months, the moment I would vanish forever. But as I stared into the abyss, the shadows of doubt and fear crept in. Was this really my only escape? Before I tell you how I got here, let's rewind to where it all began. My life was a lie wrapped in a nightmare. A steady job, a cozy apartment, and a loving partner. Sounds perfect, right? But beneath that facade, I was trapped. My boss was a tyrant who thrived on my misery. My partner was manipulative and controlling, and I was drowning in a sea of debt they had created in my name. Every day, I felt like the walls were closing in, and the air was growing thinner. It wasn't until one chilling evening that I realized how far the darkness had spread. I was walking home late when I felt someone following me. Every time I turned around, there was no one there, just the eerie glow of streetlights and the sound of my own footsteps. When I finally reached my building, my former colleague Jennifer was waiting for me. Her face was pale, her eyes darting nervously as if she too had been followed. She grabbed my arm and whispered, "You don't know the half of what's going on in your life." What she told me next shattered me. My partner wasn't just stealing from me. They were plotting something far worse. And my boss, he was in on it. They had forged documents making it look like I was involved in illegal activities. They had painted me as the scapegoat for their crimes. If the authorities caught wind of it, I'd be ruined, or worse. I remember Jennifer's final words that night. They don't just ruin lives, they erase them. If you don't act fast, you'll disappear, but not on your terms. That night, the shadows in my apartment seemed to watch me, their presence growing heavier with every hour. I couldn't sleep. The walls creaked, the floorboards groaned, and the air felt thick, suffocating. In that moment, a wild thought struck me. What if I disappeared before they made me vanish? The idea terrified me, but the alternative was far worse. I spent weeks researching how to fake a death. Every night, I felt eyes on me, as if the darkness itself knew my secret. I sold off my belongings piece by piece, avoiding questions with nervous laughter. I forged documents late into the night, each creak of the floorboards making me jump. I even tested how long I could hold my breath underwater, imagining the cold embrace of the ocean swallowing me whole. But the scariest part, the feeling that someone or something was always watching. Then came the night. I chose a remote cliff where the waves were strong and the fog was thick, shrouding everything in an eerie silence. I left behind the items, a pair of shoes, my watch, and a carefully written note. As I placed them on the ground, a chilling breeze whispered through the trees, almost like a warning. Climbing down the rocks to the hidden path, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was behind me. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves sent my heart racing. I didn't dare look back. By the time the sun rose, I was miles away in a dingy motel room, staring at the news reports about my death. But instead of relief, all I felt was dread. Was it really over? Starting over was a living nightmare. I moved to a distant city, using a new name and a new identity. I worked menial jobs, avoiding eye contact and living in constant fear. The nights were the worst. Shadows in my room seemed to stretch and twist, taking on forms that weren't there. I'd wake up to the feeling of hands on my throat, only to find nothing but the darkness. The guilt of leaving my family behind haunted me, but the fear of being found was even greater. One cold afternoon, as I walked home from work, I heard someone call my old name. I froze. The voice was familiar yet distorted, like it had traveled through the wind. Slowly, I turned, and there was Jennifer, standing in the distance, her face pale and her expression unreadable. She approached me with a chilling calmness and said, "You didn't think it would be that easy, did you?" My blood ran cold. Jennifer revealed that my boss and partner had turned on each other after my disappearance. They had been arrested, but not before trying to track me down. And though I thought I had escaped, their reach had extended further than I realized. "You're free now," she said with an eerie smile. "But freedom comes with a price." That night, I returned to my apartment only to find the door slightly ajar. Inside, everything was untouched, except for a single item placed on the table: the watch I had left on the cliff. It was ticking. I never went back to my old life. Instead, I moved again, disappearing into a deeper layer of obscurity. Sometimes, I wonder if the shadows I see are my own paranoia, or something more. So, was it worth it? Did I truly escape? Or did I trade one prison for another? I'll let you decide. What do you think? Could you fake your death to escape a toxic life? And what would you do if the past came back to haunt you? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this chilling story, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Jonah Toon Studio for more spine-tingling confessions. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.